Welcome to Beyond Broken Hungry. Juggling your career, relationships, nutrition, fitness, finance, try to pursue your dreams, and stay sane can be a bit of a struggle. With the help of expertise from a variety of wellness experts and tips and tricks from everyday people, this podcast is here to share it all to make this journey we call life just a little more balanced. I'm stumbling towards wellness right alongside you, and I'm so happy to have you come along this journey. With that in mind, let's jump into this week's episode of Beyond Broken Hungry. Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to another episode of Beyond Broken Hungry. I am your host, Dara Sweat, and today I have Meg and Jake Seibert with Seibert Sports Performance is with us today to talk about a little bit about their business and a little bit about their health and journey as well. So Meg, Jake, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Excited to be here.
All right. Well, before we go ahead and get into the meat of this episode, I would like for each of you to tell me one random fact about each other.
About each other. Oh, this could be fun. I'll say a random fact about Jake is I have never met someone so passionate about watching sports. And I know that sounds weird, like not really a crazy random fact, but someone that is so invested and can tell you anything that is going on, whether it's in the NBA and college sports and football, like knows literally everything. And I'm like, well, who played in this game in 2004? And he'll tell you. It's like, it's wild.
Wow. You and my boyfriend should meet. Because literally he's out there right now with his dad watching like FSU recaps from like whatever, talking about like all these different players. So I feel you on that, Meg. Like it's insane how much they can store in here, but they can't remember to pick up their laundry.
All right.
That's right.
It's going to be a forever theme.
Cool. Well, Jake, what about Meg? What's a random fact about her?
Random fact about Meg that I don't know if most people know, but she was actually in a rock band in high school where she was a lead singer.
Yeah. I was. That was fun. So I was in a rock band in high school and I was the lead singer. I sang a lot of Joan Jett and I got to perform at state fairs. I got to perform at this place in Vermont on Killington, which is essentially a ski resort where a lot of fun bands usually play. So it was a fun point in time.
Very cool. What was the name of your band?
Proctor Rock Band.
Nice.
Just for my life.
I like it.
Rock band teacher actually was the live band at our wedding.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Wow. Sports and music. I love it. I feel like we would get along as couples. Like, I feel like I need to come up to Raleigh with Doug and we just need to get together and Jake and Doug can talk all day long about sports. And then Meg and I will go find a karaoke bar and just sing our hearts out. I love that.
I'm sold.
Very cool.
Then we're good to go.
I like it. I mean, hey, we'll have a combination. We'll have football at the karaoke bar and best of both worlds. Best of both worlds. Well, that's so cool. All right. So getting to know you guys just a little bit. I love those facts. I love that. And Jake, you are a high school football coach, correct?
What I do is a little bit more than just coaching football and coaching track. So I kind of wear a handful of hats. I do a handful of things that kind of just add up throughout the day. So I am also a personal trainer at a big box gym. You know, I work at a Crunch Fitness, where I work with more of the general population, you know, meeting their goals, whatever those may be, which is a wide variety when it comes to the general population. You know, you get scrawny guys who want to build muscle. You get some people that are coming in and they want to lose weight, no matter what it is. You know, that's what I'm there for. And then I also get the opportunity to impact the lives of young adults, which, you know, is the high school area. You know, I am a football coach. I am a track coach, but I also do the strength and conditioning for a handful of sports there as well. And that's really what got me into this, is my journey growing up. You know, I will not take away, you know, I'm not the type of person that's going to sit there and trash talk the coaches that I had in my life. You know, I viewed each one of those as a learning experience, whether it was good or bad. You know, I always give them the benefit of the doubt because I am now doing this and I understand the pressure that you're under because, you know, the results and the injury prevention and everything that falls under that category is my responsibility. And, you know, when I'm one person in there and I have a weight room filled with 35, 40 athletes, that's a lot of pressure. And my eyes can't be on all of them at the same time. And that's really where my area of expertise is, because I played sports all through high school. I ended up playing football in college. And it wasn't until I got to college and I started studying exercise science that I was like, wow, I probably would have not torn my ACL 3 times. That's another fun fact about me, is that I've had 3 ACL injuries. I felt like I could have been a much better athlete. And again, nothing against my coaches. They did the best that they could do, with the supplies that we had at a poor high school in the middle of New Jersey, without having, a background in exercise science. They did what they felt was best for us. But then I, had the opportunity to study it, and really dive deep into it. And that's where I found my passion. I hated sitting in English class and writing papers. I don't mind history, but, learning just random facts about places just never really clicked for me. What clicked for me was just understanding how the body moved and how we can help it move efficiently, and help get people, help get the best and the most out of people, to reach their fullest potential.
Awesome. And Meg is actually my Legionnaire coach with First Form. I met her through First Form, and it is absolutely insane how they can just take somebody and put them underneath somebody who is just like very much relatable. I feel like I know her, even though I've only ever met her through a screen and talked to her like on the phone or on Zoom or anything like that. But Meg, go ahead and talk about what your role is with First Form and what you do with that company.
Yeah, so I'm essentially a Legionnaire coach, and sometimes that can be really hard to explain to people as to what that means. I always joke around and say sometimes I help people with their health and fitness, sometimes I help them grow their brand, and sometimes I'm their therapist, a little bit of everything in between. But essentially, when people join the Legionnaire program through First Form, they come because they've had some positive experience with First Form, whether they love the products, they've used the app, they want to implement it into their own business, or they want to just have help growing their brand. And prior to becoming a Legionnaire coach with First Form, yes, I had my own business, but I got the positive taste, that little bit of excitement from my own experience with First Form that really drove me to want to have a bigger impact. So now as a Legionnaire coach, a lot of people think working for First Form, you just get to work out all the time, you eat clean, and life is great. But in reality, I work a desk job. I sit at my desk and I'm on Zoom with clients all day for anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, essentially, like I said, helping them build their brand, helping them improve, their overall quality of life, helping them become 1% better than they were yesterday, or just really achieve any goals that they have for themselves. And I always tell them, your goals are my goals, inside or outside of the program, because essentially our mission at First Form is to help as many real people get real long-term results. And people think that automatically means, hey, supplements, or hey, that means health and fitness. That can be any area of life. It all boils down to just being a really good human and leading by example.
Absolutely. Well, you do a fantastic job at being a Legionnaire coach, if I do say so myself. Definitely have helped me in my journey with everything in the short amount of time that I've been working with First Form. So we've got two aspects of this health and fitness here. We've got football coach, and we've got health and wellness coach, brand coach, all that other stuff. So how did you two decide to take both of your passions, which seem to be pretty similar? You both are in the field of fitness and to some degree, and hello to your kitty. I love it. What made you decide to kind of join forces and start your company together?
The one thing about me and Meg is that we are straightforward. We're not going to beat around the bush. That's kind of what drew us together. The first night that we met, we sat and talked for like 4 hours about what our passions are. And we realized, wow, our passions are kind of similar here.
Very cool.
We looked at the time, we're like, wow, we've been talking for 4 hours, and, it just kept on going. And so really early on, we kind of knew, we wanted to be invested in this together. We wanted to push each other to be better versions of ourselves. And we realized, in the world, no matter what you choose to do, it's hard to do it alone. You always got to have someone that you love to rely on, because, even though, like Meg said earlier, even though we are in the fitness industry, we aren't perfect people. We're people just like anyone else. Right. It is a little easier for us because we understand what it takes, because we have studied it. We do it every day, and we talk to people about those things. But again, having two heads makes it so much easier, because if I'm struggling in one area, for example, Meg is rock star when it comes to nutrition. And that is one area where I feel like that I struggle a little bit. If I could choose one, it would probably be the area of nutrition. So if I ever have questions on that, that's where I, spitball ideas with Meg here. And she helps me through those. And then, my area of expertise is programming. I love programming. That's the fun stuff to me, is when I just sit down and break it apart and figure out, okay, what do I want to do? With what I have, what equipment I have available, and how can I structure this in a way that's fun. That's also beneficial. And so, if Meg has problems questions with programming, that's kind of where she comes to me with it. And it's just, having our specific areas of expertise, combining it, just makes for better outcomes than doing it alone.
For sure. For sure. I love that you guys kind of have both ends of the spectrum here. Like both of you obviously studied the science of the body and everything else, but having Meg to kind of help you on that nutritional side, and then Meg having you to kind of be like more on the programming side, where each of you could maybe focus a little bit more on those categories. And then when you come together, it's like, boom. So instead of like you trying to be so in each category, you can kind of thrive in those specific ones together. And then when you come together, it's like, wow, this perfect program is going on for both of you. That's awesome. Meg, I know that when we first connected, you had told me about your journey as well. So Jake, I know that you mentioned when you were in high school, it was, kind of the start of your journey and everything else. I would love for you to also get into what was that thing that really made you so passionate about this in the first place?
I think for me, I grew up in a family that really struggled with alcohol and being overweight. And, I know a lot of families are like this. Whatever your parents cook or have for dinner, if they're on a diet, you're on a diet. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I tried a lot of fad diets because I viewed myself I struggled with body dysmorphia. I viewed myself as overweight, or I viewed myself as not good enough, or I hated looking in the mirror. And it was to the point where I was taking hydroxycut pills as early as 6th and 7th grade, thinking that, hey, this is going to make me become, it's going to make me skinny. It's going to make me beautiful. It's going to make me healthy.
Right.
Because that's what I grew up with. Right. And then until I started really diving deeper into like overall nutrition, the body, which wasn't until college after a breakup. I used to say that my story and my journey really started around that breakup, but it was prior to that. It was really what I was raised around. And when I really started focusing on nutrition and, wellness and, just essentially overall health, that wasn't really until I had gone through realizing that, hey, I did try every single fad diet and it wasn't sustainable. I did abuse alcohol. I did struggle with depression. And, essentially what had happened is when my stepmom passed away from breast cancer, that's when I got diagnosed with severe clinical depression and I got put on medication. It made things 10 times worse. So I did resort to alcohol even more. Fun fact for you, so much so that I earned the name Margarita Meg because I was drinking a margarita bucket a night, which is impressive and disgusting at the same time. But, I, through all that struggle, I put on 30 pounds and they're like, hey, freshman 15. I was like, yeah, all right, whatever. I mean, I doubled it and I was miserable. But through all of that, I'll say what really sparked my interest in taking things really seriously was when I got to do an internship, at a private personal training studio. And that's when I really fell in love with the personal training side of things. I fell in love with the entrepreneur side of things. And then I was like, I really want to recreate this. And I loved the body. I loved helping people. And I knew that I could make a career out of it. And so, essentially what had happened is May of 2020 rolled around and Jake and I moved down to North Carolina where we are now so I could open up a studio. And, obviously 2020 ruined a lot of people's plans.
Right.
So couldn't do that. So I launched an online business. And I always tell people that I'm a people pleaser and it's a blessing and a curse because I will do anything for everybody else and put myself on the back burner, knowing pretty well that's not the best thing for myself, my health, whatever it is. And it was at that point where I caught myself putting myself too much on the back burner. Like, I really need to do something. And when I got a call in August, and I know this sounds a little miscellaneous, like I'm jumping around, but this is a huge reason. This is my why, right? And I think it's important that everybody has a why to reflect on. But I got a call last August from my sister, and it was like, hey, our brother's in the hospital. And what had happened is he ended up like dying twice in the hospital. He was revived both times. And what had happened is he had a seizure from alcohol withdrawal. It had been essentially 4 hours without a drink, and it killed him, right? He is alive now, very important. However, not only that, he was really overweight. He doesn't work out. He doesn't eat clean, right? He's just your poster child of unhealthy. And that was the moment. It's unfortunate that it took me that long, but that was really the moment for me. Like, if I continue to live my life like this and keep putting myself on the back burner, that's going to be me. And no one deserves to go through that, because that's preventable. And I have the tools, the resources, the systems, the education. It's not always going to be life or death, but we can, like, that's preventable. So I can share those things with other people. And I never want people to struggle with what I struggled with not having a good relationship with food, with struggling with body dysmorphia, thinking that a fad diet is the right thing for them, because you can still enjoy the foods that you love in moderation and still get results. So that's why I went so focused. And that's why, I definitely think that I'm more so the nutrition side of things and in this business, because I never want anyone to feel the way that I felt, because I know everybody like hits like a rock bottom or has a really low blow or some point in life where they just don't really understand why things are happening. They don't want to do anything. They lose sight of what's important to them. And nutrition plays a huge role in that. And I figured if I could implement that into our business and really help people create that food freedom and, enjoy the foods that they love, but still get results while Jake can kick their butt with the workouts, that's a win for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I feel like you can't have one without the other. You can't outwork a bad diet. So you can be in the gym and you can be there for hours and you can do all this cardio, and then you can go to eat McDonald's or whatever fast food every day, or eat shit every day. And you might be skinny or you might not be overweight, but if you were to really look at like the overall health of your body function, of how you're sleeping, of the performance that you might be in the gym, but are you performing well? Are you doing the work the way that it's supposed to be done? You cannot have one without the other. And they're so important. And nutrition really is the driving force. You could not work out, but eat right and still have, a decent figure or a healthy body. You might not be toned, you might not have muscle, but you can have the nutrition without the physical per se, but you're not going to have that build. You're not going to be tight. You're not going to be toned, but nutrition is the driving force. Like, that is like the foundation. And if you don't have that right, you really have nothing to build on.
That's exactly it. And people think like, oh, if I go to the gym and I am working out and I'm burning X amount of calories, a lot of people have that mindset, they can eat whatever they want. And that's not the case, right? Your body's like a temple. They used to have the saying, they might still have the saying, I don't know, you are what you eat. And that's 100% true. If you want to eat something that's greasy, not healthy, you're going to probably feel a little bit run down. You're not going to be feeling your best. Your workouts aren't going to be optimal. And it's 100% true.
Absolutely. I want to switch gears a little bit into people not having the time or the resources to have this healthy lifestyle. You both have your backgrounds, you both have your experiences and your story of where you came from and your why and what made you want to be where you are now and do what you do now. And both of you did not have these perfect examples in front of you to make this something easy for you. So it was kind of something that you had to learn on your own. But you didn't use that as a crutch. You didn't use that as an excuse, like, oh, well, I don't know, so I'm just not going to do it. You use that as an opportunity to change your life, to make things better, to do the steps that you have to take in order to have a healthier lifestyle. So to the person who is too busy or doesn't know or whatever excuse that they want to pull out of their ass to try to say that they can't have a healthy lifestyle, what is your advice to that person?
Well, the first question I'd ask them is, how much time do you spend on Netflix?
Mm.
You know, that's my go-to. You know, we live in a world now, especially, you know, post COVID, or, you know, during COVID, however you want to look at it right now.
Right.
You know, we lived in a world where everyone was watching streaming sites. You know, they're watching Netflix, they're watching Hulu, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym. Well, it's like, what are you prioritizing? You know, what are your priorities? Because that's all, you know, choosing to live a healthy lifestyle is all about choosing your priorities.
Right.
You know, Meg will be the first one to tell you, I love kicking up on the couch, watching sports, watching Netflix or whatever, but I make sure that I get my shit done during the day.
Mhm.
You know, like, I mean, I'm not going to come home and be like, you know, I'm not going to work out today because I want to go home and watch Netflix. I'm like, you know, I'm going to get my stuff done. And then afterwards, after I'm done with work, after I'm done with my workout, that's when I'm like, okay, I've got this time. Now I can kick back and relax. So again, that's always my first question is, where is your health and fitness on your priority list? Is it below, you know, watching 3 hours of Netflix? Is it below, you know, all the time that you spend doing other things? And that's where I always start with people. And then the second, I guess, excuse that I have is, you know, healthy food is expensive. Which I hear that a lot, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper to go to McDonald's and get a McDouble than it is to go and eat healthy. And my response to that is always, you know, I don't make a 6-figure salary.
Mhm.
You know, my dad was a pastor. That's my background. My dad was a pastor. My mom was a nurse. I didn't grow up with a whole lot of money because, you know, their background is they gave 10% of their annual income to the church.
Mhm.
That's what they do. And so, you know, I didn't grow up with all these fancy things. You know, don't get me wrong, I was well taken care of. My parents were phenomenal people. They always made sure that I had a roof over my head, food on the table. But again, you know, I learned real quick to shop on a budget. I understood, and again, you know, that's where coaches like us come into play. Some people
Mhm.
might, okay, healthy food is expensive because they don't really know what they're looking for when they're going through, you know, a grocery store and they're going through the aisles. And again, that's where having people in the health and fitness industry come into play. You know, that's why we are employed, and that's why we have jobs to answer questions like that, because there's people that don't have those answers.
Mhm.
So I shop on a budget. Like, I mean, I'm not sitting there, you know, racking up a $500 grocery bill with healthy food when I'm going out of there. You know, I'm looking for the deals, you know, making sure that, you know, I'm looking at the nutrition labels on the back, making sure that
Mhm.
it's got the right type of ingredients and the right things in there that's going to fuel my body efficiently and that's going to give me the results that I need, while also keeping in mind, you know, I'm on a budget here. And so it is doable, it is possible. And, you know, people like me and like Meg that aren't making, you know, $1 million a year.
Right.
I always use the example, you know, LeBron James, everyone has seen this. LeBron James spends $1 million a year on his health and fitness. Yeah, the average person doesn't have $1 million to spend a year.
Right.
And so people that aren't making 6-figure salaries, you know, that's, again, like I keep saying, that's where we come into play. We can sit down with them and map out, okay, what foods do you enjoy eating? Because that's the main thing is I'm
Mhm.
very my food. There's a lot of types of food that I do not like. So sometimes it is difficult. For example, big thing for me, I struggle with breakfast. I don't like eggs. I don't like peanut butter. I don't like certain types of those food. Yeah, I know. You know,
What?
how do you not like those? Like, it's my freaking choice. You know, I don't get to choose whether or not to like it. If I could like seafood, if I could like eggs, I'd like it all. But again, that's where my area of expertise and, you know, studying this has helped out, of figuring out, okay, I know that I need to eat breakfast. I need to start my day with protein. I need to fuel my body the right way. What can I replace besides eggs and those foods that I don't like, and do it in a budget friendly manner.
Right.
And again, that's where I always start with people. You know, those are the main two excuses that I get. I don't have time and I don't have the money to eat healthy. You know, where are your priorities? And let me help you figure out how to eat healthy on a budget.
So when it comes to hearing I don't have time, I think that's hands down like the number one excuse when it comes to anything.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have time to meal prep. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to read my 10 pages of personal development. I don't have time to do something. It all comes down to your priorities. You know, what is important to you?
Mhm.
You know, if someone tells me that they have a goal of wanting to lose 10 pounds and I give them the tools and resources to lose those 10 pounds. 2 months go by, they still haven't lost the 10 pounds, let alone a single pound. They're not prioritizing it, right? And then when I have that conversation, oh, this came up, this came up, this came up. And that tells me, hey, your health and your fitness goals, losing those 10 pounds is not really important to you. I always tell people, you have billionaires and you have poor people, right? They both have the same 24 hours in the day. How efficiently are you using your time? So when it comes to people that struggle with, I'm going to say time management, that's my biggest tip for them is start time blocking. You don't need any crazy expensive calendars. I literally use Google Calendar and it has completely changed my life.
Yep.
So you have to think about if losing 10 pounds is your goal, let's say, right? Or I say that, I know people want to put on muscle. That's the most common goal, losing weight, right? So if you need to lose weight, what do you need to do to lose weight? Well, you need to focus on your nutrition and you need to focus on your intentional movement, right? So if you're going to tell me you don't have time for those things in order to reach your goal, well, let's look at your schedule. What are your non-negotiables? Well, I have to work. How long do you work for? 8 hours. Great. Block off 8 hours on your calendar, right? And then let's say, oh, well, I need to have dinner. I need to have lunch. I need to have breakfast. Awesome. Pencil in 30 minutes for every meal. And then it's like, oh, well, I need to take the kids to, their basketball practice. Phenomenal. Pencil in that 25-minute drive, 25-minute back on your calendar. At the end of the day, I guarantee you, everybody is still probably going to have anywhere between 5 and 8 hours in their day. And with that being said, you don't need a full hour to go to the gym. You can get an efficient workout done in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You don't need a single piece of equipment to get in an effective workout. You don't need to go and have 500 different ingredients for a healthy meal. It just comes down to being more efficient with your time, prioritizing what it's going to take to get there, and realizing that no one is preventing you from reaching your goal except for yourself because you're prioritizing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said, like that you don't have to have like this full hour, to go to the gym. You don't have to have so many ingredients to make a meal. It's actually, I want to say probably 8 times out of 10, if you meet with a nutrition coach or you meet with somebody, they're going to tell you like, let's start with the basics. Let's start with 5 ingredients maybe that you use for every meal. It's not this complicated thing. And like social media is a gift. I love it. It's a great thing at the same time. But you see these people that pretty much their life is being at the gym or being in the kitchen. So yeah, their meals are going to be a little bit more elaborate, and you're going to, their ingredients list is going to be this long for them to make this amazing, incredible meal. Or that person's going to be in the gym, for 3 or 4 hours at a time, or multiple 2-hour sessions, because that is their life. That is their job. Your job is to be a normal human being with a regular, schedule, and just fitting in your workouts and fitting in time to make simple grab and go meals that can just be a game changer for your life. And you can make those things taste good. That, and literally anything by Tony Satchins is like, you pour that on there and make the most amazing tasting meal, put a little bit of olive oil. It doesn't have to be so complicated. And I love when people say that and share that, because I feel like it's so out there that it has to be elaborate. It has to be Instagram worthy. It has to be perfect, picture perfect, when it really just has to fuel your body and get you to move.
I mean, that's exactly it. And going back into the social media side of things, I think a lot of people's problem is that they just have unrealistic expectations and they just compare themselves to other people. They think, oh, in order to look like this person on social media, they're in the gym 3 hours a day and they eat this perfect all the time. That's phenomenal for them. But in reality, you're a mom that works a 9-to-5 job, you have 3 kids, that's not going to fit your lifestyle. So I think people just compare themselves too much and just have such unrealistic expectations. And that's just one thing that people need to start being, a little bit more mindful of, is that it's you versus you.
Yeah, for sure. And so that leads me into this next question here. So like, You've got the person who's too busy. We have the advice for them. We have the tips for them. This is what you need to do. You're not that busy. That should be a slogan on my friggin' podcast t-shirt. Like, I am the queen of having so many things. I've already been in three weddings this year, on like 4 different bachelorettes. I've got another wedding to go to. I've been to LA for work, New York for work, Nashville for work. Doug and I have gone on a couple trips. Like, there's been weeks at a time where I felt like I was just straight up living out of my suitcase, but I still met all my nutrition goals for the year. I said I wanted to lose 10 pounds in 2022. I lost 10 pounds in 2022. All of this while traveling, prioritizing my meals, prioritizing the movement. If I was going to go on a trip and wasn't going to be working out, I noted that, and I still enjoyed it. Bride wanted to go get fun donuts, whatever. Hell yeah, sign me up. I had a donut, I had some wine, I had margaritas, I had the whatever, but I wasn't eating or drinking like an asshole. I wasn't eating like, I'm never going to be able to eat pizza ever again, except for this moment right now. And that was like a big thing that was kind of game changing for me. But I had to wake up. I had to get there as well. I had to figure that out. But for the person who is like, all right, I want to prioritize this time. I'm going to make the time to do it, but I'm scared. So what advice to that person who is just a little intimidated by this new process, by this new lifestyle?
This is kind of funny because I actually had to give a speech at a banquet last night for our volleyball girls, and this was kind of one of the main points that I talked about. I always look at, everyone needs a vision. No matter what you want to set your mind to, you got to have a vision. Otherwise, you're just going to go through the motions and you're going to be wandering around aimlessly. So say, for example, someone wants to go to the gym because they want to build muscle, or they want to lose weight. No matter what that is, like, that's your vision. Gyms, especially like big box gyms, if you're going to a Planet Fitness, it's a little, that's their whole thing, is judgment-free zone. But if you're going to, Crunch Fitness, a Gold's Gym, anything like that, there is some moments where there's intimidating. You see some giant dude that's deadlifting 700 pounds and you're like, wow, I'm over here curling my 10-pound dumbbells. Like, I mean, that does get intimidating. My only advice to them is focus on your vision and not on your circumstance. Just continue reminding yourself of your why. Why are you there? Don't worry about anyone else. That's a big thing in this world, is a lot of people, like Meg said earlier, comparing themselves to others. I am not Meg. Meg's not me. I'm not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm not JJ Watt. I focus on myself and what are my goals. And every day that I'm struggling, or every day that I might get a little intimidated in the gym, I just constantly remind myself, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. And I understand the process that it's going to take to get there. And I'm embracing it. And just constantly reminding themselves of their why, of their vision. And just no matter what circumstances thrown at you, just focusing on that vision.
And I think going back to just overall, like, really scared to start in any aspect, oftentimes, that's because people are afraid of failing, and they have this vision, hey, I need to do this perfectly. I can't mess up. When in reality, I encourage people to fail. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's how you learn, and if you go in with this expectation of, oh, I'm going to go in, I need to lift this amount of weight and I need to be in and out in 45 minutes. And then you go and you're short 5 pounds and you work out 7 minutes early. It's like, oh, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't effective. And when people have this expectation of they need it to be perfect, or, oh, it's not good enough. I can't say it enough. Like, no one is perfect. And that sounds so cliche, but no one is perfect. And you need to accept the fact that you're going to fail, but through failure, you're going to become a better version of yourself, only if you look at that failure as an opportunity to get better.
For sure. No, 100%. It's all about growth. I mean, like, let's say this person is a nurse, or, in any kind of occupation. When they first started that occupation, they didn't know anything. They didn't really know what they were doing. They didn't know the ropes of the hospital they worked at, or the company they worked at. They probably didn't even know what floor they needed to be on day one. But by day 100, they knew where they had to go. They knew what they needed to do. They know who their team members are. They know who to call if they have a question about anything. So why would you be afraid to start something when you've already been starting things our whole life, every single day, it's like we start something new. We go through these periods of our life. You never been to first grade before, but you made it through first grade. Never went to college before, made it to college. Or if you didn't go to college and went to some technical school or just got a job right out of college, you didn't know everything on day one. And you don't have to know everything on day one of your journey. All you have to know is that you're ready and that you're willing. That's really the only thing that you have to know. And everything else will come with it. I mean, I've been on my journey for, God, I mean, I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was 15. So I'll be 30 next year. Ew. But, for 14 years, I've been diagnosed as someone with PCOS, and I just recently took off all of my medications because I wanted to heal my body nutritionally and naturally. But I've been on my journey forever. And it was really only in the last 2 years that it was like, okay, and things started to really click and real growth and real change actually started to happen. But I've been on this forever. I mean, it's been almost 15 years that I've been doing this and living healthy. But, things happen, life happens, whatever. But I know so much more now than I even did a year ago, 6 months ago. I'm always learning, and you have to be open to that. If you're not open to it, then, it's going to be harder for things to come to you, but you have to be open to knowing that, hey, I could learn something new today. I could learn something new tomorrow. I can make this recipe better so that it doesn't taste so bland, and just kind of keep practicing and keep working towards it. And I think that people they want that instant gratification, but you really just have to go into it knowing like, I don't know a lot now. I'm not where I want to be now, but I'm going to decide every single day to work towards that goal. And eventually I know I will get there.
That's exactly it. It's a choice to put in the work. When people, the same thing applies, like if we're talking about, our business, right? If I were to go and tell somebody, hey, in order to get the best results possible, I need you to track your food 7 days a week. I need you to hit your calories. I need you to hit your protein. I need you to drink 120 ounces of water every single day. I need you to get in at least 30 minutes of intentional movement every single day, with 3 of those days a week being strength training. If I have the average person coming off the street and I tell them that's like paralysis by analysis, right? Where the heck do I start? And that's where that wall comes up, and they're just essentially like, I don't want to start because I don't think I can do all of those things right away. And like you said, pick one thing, attack it one at a time. If I want to go and if you're a teacher, you want to go and teach something, right? You're not going to know every single thing. Study one thing, get good at it, practice it, and then move on to something else. So you're just essentially adding more tools to your tool belt over time. So that way you are becoming essentially not only like, the phrase that's coming to mind is like the most valuable person, but you're essentially just becoming a better version of yourself every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Love that. Jake, did you have something to add? Okay, go ahead.
Kind of building off of that, a lot of people have probably heard this saying, the hardest step is the first step. That might not necessarily be true for everyone. Some people, the first step is easy, being consistent is the hard part. But for a large majority of people, the first step is the hardest. And more often than not, like we kind of talked about earlier, it might be the scariest. And I'm big on analogies, and I'm a big visual person. Again, like I think everyone now knows, I'm a big sports guy. So I'm going to use the analogy of sled pushes because I love sled pushes. The clients that I train probably despise me because of the amount of sled pushes that they have to do. But I'm constantly telling people, once you get it going, don't slow down. Because once you slow down, it's only going to get harder. Because if you slow down, you're only going to have to repeat that first step.
Right.
Advice to them is always just keep your legs moving. Take it one step at a time. No matter how much your legs are burning, no matter how much your glutes are burning, just keep your legs moving at a constant pace. Because that, at the end of the day, is going to be enough more often than not.
Yeah.
You need to do crazy things. If you like going to the gym for 3 hours, fine. But you don't need to go to the gym for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Again, find what you like, and just no matter what, just keep your legs moving. Just keep taking it one step at a time.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Beyond Broken Hungry. If you aren't already, be sure to subscribe to Beyond Broken Hungry wherever you get your podcast so you can get notified every time a new episode drops. It would also mean the world to me if you rate, review, and share the podcast too, so more people can join the BBH tribe. Follow this podcast on social media at Beyond Broken Hungry to interact and see how I'm stumbling toward wellness one day at a time. And most importantly, tune back in next week for another episode. See you then.